Hey all, so this is Rowan Zellers. Yeah, I'm the requester behind the ask and answer questions about an image. Thanks so much for the interest in my hits. I thought I would make, hopefully it's going to be a short video talking about kind of how I approach these, giving a couple of examples and more information. Just let me know if you have any questions about any of this. And also, yeah, it's totally optional. You don't need to watch this, but I thought it might help, especially if you have kind of questions about how I do these and what I'm looking for. So I'm in the sandbox right now. I'll just open up my hits. Um, yeah, so okay, this one's kind of interesting. Um, let's see what's going on. So this person riding a motorcycle is kind of interesting. A simple question that I could ask is, what is one wearing? And it looks like one is wearing a hospital gown. However, that's not really a great question to ask for me. Like, if you can ask something more interesting, I'd love it. Just because wearing it often doesn't really require that much understanding beyond the image in order to be able to recognize what someone's wearing. And really what I'm trying to go for is these like challenging questions that require understanding what this image really represents, like what the scene is, and also what might have happened before, what might happen next, kind of what people's motivations and intentions are. So my thought is, and this person's one, yeah. Uh, where was where did one come from? Or I guess I should say, where was one previously? One was in the hospital. And I guess the rationale is one is wearing a hospital gown. And I could probably just leave it at that. Um, yeah. Um, Great. And let's see if there's any other questions about it. Um, let's see. I guess I could ask maybe more of a why question. So let me think about what I would try and ask here. Um, I guess I could try and ask, um, uh, let's see, why is one um, why is one driving riding a motorcycle while wearing a hospital gown? So I think this is a reasonable question. I mean, this is one of those where we don't really know for sure. There could be a lot of reasons, but my guess is that um, one wanted to get out of the hospital and, or maybe I'll just say wanted to escape um, the hospital and couldn't change into clothes. And for the rationale, so there's a couple of possible ways I could kind of justify this. Um, Maybe the first one, the one that kind of comes to mind, is that it's usually uncommon, or I'll just say it's uncommon to wear hospital gowns outside of the hospital. So it's likely that one uh, wanted to escape, um, or it's likely that one escaped hastily or something like that. And I think, let's see, so I think it's possible. I think that seems reasonable. And I think for this one, for question one, I think one was in the hospital. I think that's likely. Yeah, so I think this is a reasonable one. I'm gonna try and like find an image that's a little bit less interesting. Okay, maybe this is a reasonable one. So we only have two detections here to work off of. Again, you can also talk about other things that aren't detected. However, my general rule of thumb is that if you can, it's often a good idea to ask about the detections. But in this case, it thought that this leaf is a baseball bat, and probably it's not a great thing to ask about, like the leaf, just because leaves are not very interesting. So Okay, here's a question. Um, So I guess just kind of my understanding of the scene, maybe I'll talk about that first. It looks like these two people are, they're either like soldiers or maybe more likely they're trying to escape something. This is probably like some action movie. Um, and so like I'll ask this question. So what is two doing right now? And I'll say that he's aiming a rifle at someone. And the rationale is he has a he has his arms lifted upwards. I could elaborate on that, but I probably won't, just to keep the rationale short. I mean, you can if you want to. It just is not really required. He has his arms lifted upwards, and his mouth looks like he's intently focused on something. Um, and I'll just say that's possible. Um, and maybe another question is, how does one feel right now? So I often like feeling questions. The main thing is I don't want these to be generic. Like a lot of the times it's like, how does one feel? One feels happy, one is smiling, etc. This is one of those situations where this emotion is like really unique. So I kind of want to go for that in my answer. So one feels terrified, and for the rationale, um, I guess I'll say um, one's facial expression um, looks like uh, looks like she's worried for her life or something like that. Um, and maybe I'll try and make this a little bit more specific. Um, one has, or maybe so often, oftentimes I've noticed that like sometimes the rationales often have a better answer than the answer itself. If that makes any sense. So what I'm going to do is kind of make this answer even more specific here. So I'm just going to say that one feels worried for her life. Like that's a really unique feeling, and I'm just going to say, why does one feel worried for her life? Maybe the reason is um, uh, one's eyebrows are um, one's eyebrows are raised. She looks like she's um, crying or in shock. So yeah, you don't have to be this detailed, but I'm just trying to make this question, answer, and rationale something that you can't really apply to every image or like half of the images and say that one feels worried. And I could, so some other questions I could ask are kind of what are they going to do next? Maybe they'll run to safety, etc. And I guess I'll probably say likely for this. So yeah, hopefully these helped a little bit. Um, Again, I don't want to waste too much of your time here, but I hope this was somewhat helpful. Kind of going through how I look at some of these questions. Yeah, and so just let me know if you have any follow-up thoughts about this. Thanks so much.